with the candidate who is topping the polls at this moment, former state senator Jim Dabakis. Jim, you're a guest continually here on the show, but kind of a different format this time around.
Different role.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Let's get into this. First off, talk about your background and why you feel like it qualifies you to run Utah's capital city.
You know, a lot of people see me as a bombastic, sometimes bloviating senator. I represented 100,000 people in Salt Lake, and that was my job. You know, the legislature comes down with a lot of bad stuff on Medicaid expansion and so many things. That was my job. The job of mayor is a different job. It is the person who brings everybody together, the person who doesn't really create enemies, the person who is there with a plan. But the first step, I think the first speed bump of being mayor is, this is a $330 million corporation. So can that person run that kind of business? And what people don't know about me is I got here as a kid, worked as a volunteer, as an intern at a radio station, and ended up learning everything there is about the radio business. And by the time I left, I was a partner in a small chain that we sold. Then with my husband, we packed off and headed to the Soviet Union, where we started a business and some entrepreneurial things, and I know business. I mean, people don't see me that way, but I know spreadsheets. I know what it's like to wake up in the middle of the night and pace around going, how am I going to make payroll the next day? I think that's important because this is a big business.
It's also important to have a good relationship with the legislature. You brought it up yourself about your reputation up there. Do you still have a good relationship that will benefit the city when you need it when it comes to the legislature?
So we're going to talk about some issues, no doubt, here in a minute, but Salt Lake City needs to understand that we're an island. There's 200,000 of us, and if we're going to succeed on all the issues, from homelessness to air quality to affordable housing, we need the support of the governor, of the president of the Senate, and the Speaker of the House. We've got to be able to present our case, and the mayor has to be able to pick up the phone and call and say, you got to help me out here. And I believe that for all of my fieriness on the Senate floor, I believe this is true. There isn't one senator that I don't consider a friend. I was always able to separate that out, and they teased me a lot, and I think that's a good thing.
Let's get into some issues. What do you see as the biggest challenge for Salt Lake City over the next 4 years?
Okay, we've talked about that a little bit, but I think first the mayor's got to communicate with the city council. So I intend to spend 2 days a month at an overnight sleep with every member of the city council. You know, I understand Charlalika has a big basement. I'm looking at a cot for Anna's place. You can't do anything as mayor if you don't have 4 of those city council people. So you start there and you build out. And can I just say something I'm proud about? Whoever is going to be the next governor, I think I'm going to have a great relationship with. If you start with Spencer Cox, I texted Spencer, I called him and I said, our LGBT community has had a tragedy in Orlando. Will you come and speak? And he texted right back and said, Jim, I'll be there. And he gave the most eloquent speech, which has millions and millions. Thomas Wright, who is the Republican Party chair, when I was the Democratic Party chair, we went around this state to debates together, got out of the same car. We're friends. We continue to be friends. Greg Hughes, heaven forbid.
Yeah,
Greg
we've
is
seen
governor.
the two of you on this show a couple times.
We work together. John Huntsman, I called John one time and said, look, the Equality Dinner speaker didn't make it. Will you be the first major Republican? I'm saying, I know these people, and the city needs to understand we got to work together to solve the issues.
Okay, let's get into some hot button issues in Salt Lake City. Inland Port, do you support the lawsuit?
Support the lawsuit. This is a junta takeover. They've fired the mayor and the city council, and they have put in 13 people, 12 of whom don't share the city's values, to fill almost 20% of our city with a lot of things that don't share the values of the city. Keep it up.
Immigration. Salt Lake City Police and the current mayor have made it very clear that they will not enforce immigration policy in the city. Your thoughts?
To take families that have been here for years and who are contributing and to pack them up and ship them off immediately that day is soulless, and I will do everything in my power to not allow that to happen to people in our Salt Lake community.
Some people will look at that, though, and say, how can you as a mayor say you will not enforce federal policy?
Because the people of the federal government didn't elect me, the people of Salt Lake City did, and I know where the heart of the people of Salt Lake is, and that is not in taking children and rounding them up and putting them in concentration camps and shipping them off. This is not going to happen.
Homelessness. Do you support what happened with Operation Rio Grande and the resource centers moving forward?
Yes, of course. I mean, it gives me great hope. This is kind of the best of our community. If you've been to Seattle or San Francisco or parts of LA where they simply have given up on homelessness, where people are defecating on the street, where there's camps everywhere, we need to help our homeless brothers and sisters. And when I see a table, and around that table is the governor and the lieutenant governor and the Speaker of the House and $100 million from the city and the county mayor and our philanthropic community. Gail Miller put $10 million in, the Huntsman family, and then our great nonprofits. I say, do we have all the answers? No. But do we have a community that's sitting around the table solving it? The mayor's job, keep that community talking. Don't let the state kind of wander. We need to work together. We need a village.
Okay, 30 seconds left. Managing growth. A lot of people come into Utah. It's the capital city. We're having trouble with our housing market. What's the best way to manage growth? 30 seconds.
Yeah, the best way to manage growth is a great plan in transit. You know, we need free UTA all over the system. It's only 11% of the total cost that comes in, and management, well, that will mean so many more, less cars on the street, good for pollution, and also it's it can be done.
Okay, we're going to have to wrap it up there. You can learn more about Jim at dabakisformayor.com. You see it right there on your screen. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be following the race. Appreciate
Thanks,
having you
Glenn.
here.
Thanks for having me.